Hey everybody, welcome back to Down in the Dale. I'm Shelly. Today is Sunday, June 21st, 2026. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. Uh, it's been a nice week here. It's been in the low 70s, so that's amazing. I keep looking outside. It's supposed to rain later, but not until later, like after 6 p.m. We're going to my sister's today for a barbecue. I have corn casserole in the oven. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. This week I had one of those moments where I was reminded that the scale only tells part of the story, which is almost every week for me anyway. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing when the scale goes down, and this week it went down, so I was like, yay. This week I took a closer look at my RENPHO scale, which I had not been on for a while. This one does not have the handlebar that you hold, so it only reads like the lower half of your body, so it's not totally correct, but it's fine by me. I do want to get one of those with the handles. We'll maybe get one sooner or later. And then I'll have a third scale. Oh no, I'll get rid of this one. My sister will probably end up with this one. So today we're going to talk about my weigh-in, take a deep dive into my body composition changes since September, and then for this week's Life in California story, I'm going to talk about all the times my parents came out for a visit and what we did. I've talked a little bit about some of it, but we'll get into more of it deeper here. It's a deep dive week. I did have a talk with a dietitian this week. That went really well. She sent me a lot of information that I have not really gone all through yet, so I'm going to talk about that next week. I will. Anyway, let's get into it. As always, we're going to start with the numbers. I took my first shot of Mounjaro on August 25th, 2025, 2.5 milligrams, and my starting weight that day was 287 pounds. This morning on that very same scale, I was 244, which means I lost 2 pounds from last week, and now I'm down 43 pounds. Hooray! Sometimes you get caught up in the week to week numbers, the little ups and downs, the plateaus, which I really haven't had yet. I know it's coming, it comes for everyone. The weeks where I lost half a pound, the weeks where nothing seems to happen, the weeks where I might have gained. But every once in a while, it's important to zoom out. And when I zoom out, I realize that 43 pounds is a huge accomplishment. I'm moving better, my clothes fit differently, but more importantly, I'm improving my health. I'm currently on 7.5 milligrams of Mounjaro and focusing on consistency. Not perfection, because no one's perfect, just consistency. Because that's what's gotten me this far. So this morning I decided to get on my RENPHO scale, which I got and weighed on for the first time September 13th, 2025. So 3 weeks after I started. So it doesn't have my starting weight, but my starting weight on there was 278.4 pounds. Today it showed 244.2 because it's slightly different than my other scale, which is why I still get on my other scale because that one's lower. This one's probably more correct, but I don't care. And this is the closest it's been. It's only 0.2 pounds different, so I don't know why I keep doing this. So that's a loss of 34.2 pounds on this scale. Wow. But here's where things get really interesting. My body fat percentage has dropped from 63.7% to 55%. That's a decrease. It is. That's a decrease of 8.7%. That's a significant change. At least ChatGPT tells me it is. Because that's what I do. I put this in ChatGPT and say, hey, analyze this. And it does. But the number that I'm really excited about is my visceral fat scores dropped from 26 to 21. That's a decrease of 5 points. Yay. Visceral fat is the fat that surrounds your organs. It's strongly associated with heart disease, diabetes, fatty liver disease, and inflammation. So seeing that number move in the right direction is incredibly encouraging. Sure, it is. My biggest surprise was my muscle mass has increased from 95 pounds to 103.4 pounds. That's an increase of 8.4 pounds. So anyone that tells you that you're going to lose your muscle mass on GLP-1s, you don't have to. And most people don't, honestly. I mean, yes, you do lose muscle mass whenever you lose weight, but mine seems to be doing okay. And I went to the gym twice this week, not 3 times, but twice. My skeletal muscle percentage also increased more than 5 percentage points, and my fat free mass increased by 9 pounds. I know these smart scales aren't perfect. I've never gone for a DEXA scan. I'd like to do that one day. Probably should do it soon so I can have something to compare it to at the end. Uh, but when all of these measurements are moving in the same direction, it's hard to ignore the trend. I'm not just losing weight, my body composition is changing. My body water percentage increased by 6 percentage points also. And considering how much I've focused on drinking more water during this journey, that's encouraging to see. Even my estimated metabolic rate has increased by 86 calories per day. Again, not a perfect measurement, but another positive trend. What all this reminds me of is that the scale doesn't tell the whole story. Of course it doesn't. There are changes happening underneath the surface that matter just as much. And sometimes those are the changes that we really should celebrate. So, speaking of looking back and appreciating things, this week's Life in California story is when my parents would come to visit. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about the first time they came to visit. We went to Disneyland and how that was my first trip, probably their first trip to Disney also, because we never went to Florida. So I think I've talked about when my parents came the first time again. We went to Disneyland. We did the Hollywood tours where we went to the cemeteries. We went to Tijuana, Mexico. We went to San Diego, and you could walk across the border. I'm sure you still can. But you could just walk across the border. My mom's dad was born in Guadalajara, Mexico. Border towns are horrible. Tijuana is no exception. A lot of people go there because it's right across the border. So we walked across, and there was this little kid peeing on the bridge, some little Mexican kid. It was kind of dirty and gross at that time. I don't remember. Well, it had to have been. I moved in 94. It had to have been 1995 sometime. And, it just seems so. It just seems so, you know, like they didn't have a lot of money. They seemed happy. But my mom, when we came back, when we walked back across, I'm so glad my father's family moved away from Mexico. I'm like, Mom, this is not where they're from. They're from Guadalajara, which I've been to, not at that time, but oh my God, Guadalajara is beautiful. Other places in Mexico are so nice. It's a great place to go on vacation. I love it. We went to Rosarita Beach with my friends, which was, a drive down the Baja California coast, or Baja California, the Mexican Baja coast. I've been to Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta, Cabo San Lucas. Oh gosh, I can't remember. Somewhere in the Sea of Cortez that I cannot remember what the name of that town was, but that was beautiful too. It was hot that year when we went. So hot and humid. Okay. So Mexico, we've been to. We went to the Grand Canyon with my parents. That was really fun. We went to Hoover Dam. We went to Yellowstone. Well, not Yellowstone. We did go to Yellowstone, but we went to Yosemite. Yosemite was really cool, except for the time that I left my camera or my dad's camera or the video camera, I do not remember, on the roof. And as we turned back out of the parking, I heard something go flying, but it was okay. We went to Yellowstone, which was amazing. I'll talk about that trip some other time in depth because that was so beautiful. We were there the last week of the year before they close most of the park for the winter. You can go to the park in the winter, but they don't have everything open because of snow. We went to Hearst Castle, which was amazing, which was William Randolph Hearst's house that he built up on a hillside in San Simeon. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you ever have a chance to go, please go there because it's just beautiful. We saw all the elephant seals hanging out. There's also zebras there at the Hearst Castle in, like fields. You just drive by and you see zebras. That's just a weird sight not to see, in a zoo. I think we went to San Diego Animal Park or San Diego Zoo, something like that, with my parents also, I think. I could be wrong. San Francisco. While we were in San Francisco, it was awesome because I got a red light ticket and the law had just changed. It was January 1st. The day before, it was $50. The day I got my ticket, it had gone up to $250. Yay. But I was lost. We were looking for the Pacific Coast Highway so we could leave because we'd been over the Golden Gate Bridge. That was really cool. And oh my gosh. I, you can see in the picture, I wish I had it still. Maybe I probably have it in a box somewhere, but, you know, I'm bending down trying to look for the road sign, and it was yellow when I went through. I know it was. They still made, well, you had to send a check if you were you had to send a check if you were fighting it, if you weren't going to be there in person. And of course, denied. And they sign your, take your check. But the funny thing about the picture is, you can see me, I'm like looking down trying to find the street sign. And my dad was in the passenger seat, and there's this big old black bar over his face, so you couldn't see him, which was so funny. Where else did we go? We went to Las Vegas. That was really cool. We had like a monsoon while we were there. That was so much fun. That's the time we went to the Grand Canyon also because we were really close. Like I don't know how far. It's not that far. Where else? Did we go anywhere else while they were there? I mean, I had cousins. I have cousins that live. My mom has cousins. Oh my gosh. My mom has cousins that live in California. Her grandmother would spend time between California and Toledo. I don't know when she moved back to or I don't know when she moved to California, Grandma Mary. Um, but one of her daughters lived out there, and so she stayed there part of the year, and part of the year she was in Toledo, like I said. In her later years, she was just in California. I think she was still alive when I was born. I don't know what year she passed away. I don't remember. I'm sure my mom will probably leave it in the comments. Uh, but I think I it's terrible because I did not see my cousins enough while I was there. I talk to them so much on Facebook now, but I wish I had seen them more while I was there. Um, what else? Oh my gosh. I honestly think that's all that my mom and dad that we did while they oh god. I think that's all that we did. I think that's all the trips that I took with my parents while they came out to visit me. One time when they came out, it was around Oscar Sunday. So it was the week of, and so here's a picture of my parents on the red carpet. Well, at the entrance to the red carpet. That was fun. I think I took them to the Today Show. I can't remember. Not the Today Show. That's in New York. I think I took them to the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. I might have taken them to some taping on the Warner Brothers lot. I know we went to see. We went to see Rosie O'Donnell because she was filming her show for a week one year in Burbank. And so I got tickets to that. We went to that. I don't think I took my mom to Ellen. My mom came out a couple other times and went on cruises with me. We went on a Mexico cruise and we went on an LA cruise. LA cruise. Oh my God. My mom came out a couple times on her own and went on two cruises with me. We went on a 10-day Mexican cruise and then we went on a 15-day cruise that went LA, Hawaii, and back. 4.5 days at sea. It was awesome. I love sea days. I've done a transatlantic also, which was 7 days of no stops. I could just stay on the ship all the time. It's fantastic. And I did those Mexico cruises so many times. I never really got off the ship, especially Mazatlan and Sonata, because there's not much to do there. I mean, there is, but Mazatlan, your port is in the actual port. It's not like the, well, no. In Mazatlan, the port is not that close to the city. How would I know? I don't think I ever did a excursion in Mazatlan. Puerto Vallarta, I would always get off, walk around, and go to the Walmart. That was always fun. Ensenada, there's not that much to do there. There's a big blowhole where there's only, I don't know, three in the world: Australia, Ensenada, and Kauai. I've been to two. Need to go to Australia. Anywho, I think that's it for this week. Let's see. Yeah. So that's week 44, 43 pounds down. At 40 weeks, I was down 40 pounds. So maybe next week I'll be down 45 pounds for week 45. We'll see. Probably not. Lots of encouraging body composition improvements, and another reminder that progress is about more than the number on the scale. Yes, it is. If you're on your own health journey, don't forget to celebrate the wins that aren't always obvious. Sometimes the biggest victories happen beneath the surface. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. I appreciate every single one of you out there. I really do. Leave me a comment, and I will see you next week for another edition of Down in the Dale. Bye bye now.